Hey everyone, welcome to another video in Master Data Management in SQL. I'm Elric, and in today's video we're going to be creating our first table shape to house table shapes. Kind of a little redundant, but this is going to help us normalize the table creation process, because we only have 4 main shapes in our entire system. So we're going to create a table structure that will help us send it a subject, because we're going to create a subject table structure. But we can send it a subject like database, and it'll create the tables for us, which will help us keep some consistency in our system, and it'll make it easier to manage because there won't be any little spelling mistakes or anything like that. As long as we can create it right the first time, we should be able to create it right all the time. So that is what we're going to be doing, and I'm going to be working in system main for quite a while. If this video becomes too long, I'm going to separate it into a couple parts, because we're going to not only create our first tables, which is a little time consuming, but we will need to create or insert data into these tables and then create a script to build other tables. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. You can follow along if you'd like, or watch. Either or. Just have some fun. So, first thing I want to do is create our first table, which is the subject class table. It's going to be the highest taxonomy table in one of our shapes called the class family type base shape. I'm going to set it as a primary key and then turn off cluster and put it on the cluster file group for reference data, which is signified by the ref in the name, which is actually, well, I'm going to save it right now. The name of the first column, sysref subject class ID, sys meaning system generated, ref meaning reference, and subject class ID, because, well, it's the primary key of the table, TBL ref subject class. So their names are really consistent, and this will allow us to programmatically find where things are in our system. I'm just going to so I'm going to close this and actually generate as drop and create, or drop and create. So I missed this piece. So both of these need to be on the same file group. There we go. So let's get back to editing that table. First columns in any table are the owners, so the primary key. The next one is a system generated column from the group table, and it is our tenant key, or tenant ID. I'm going to assign defaults to everything, so every row must have a tenant and it cannot be nullable. And the next column is the specific dataset number. Which is the table's unique number. I'm going to give it a 0 right now because we'll have some code that will actually create these and then update the tables accordingly to make sure that they are right all the time. And the last piece for the owner would be a taxonomy ID, but because this is the highest in its specific shape, it gets a cluster group, which is not nullable, and gets a null. And that's it for the owners. And now I'm going to do the descriptors. For every record must have a name, not null with a null default. Every record should have a description. It is nullable though, and it has a null default. Take our time to spell this right. So we have the abbreviation. It too is nullable with a null default. We have our header column. Null and null. And then we have our key name, which is null and null. So now these are all of my descriptor columns. I'm going to give it the ordering columns, the display order, null and null, and the sequence. Null and null. Now the reason why I'm not copying these columns either is because if you copy them, it'll actually make the default you assign to it like it makes the column. So if I copy this, one of these columns will be int sequence 1, and so will the default even if we change the column name. And that's gonna create some very bad things with our generated code. So we just want to take our time and insert these one at a time. So after the sequence column, I'm going to add the cleansable flag, which is not nullable. And by default, I'm going to say none of my records can be cleansed. I really want to specify what can be cleansed. And then we're actually going to copy the primary key, do underscore cleanse 2, and give it the similar primary key underscore cleanse 2 data type. And this is going to be nullable because not everything's going to be cleansed, and I'm going to give it a null default. So that's our cleaning system in place, and now we do our availability flags. So we have our act flag, and this is where you put your own flavor into the system, where I'm going to say every new record in my system, I'm going to let it be active. Same with the valid flag. Every record in the system I'm going to trust. And then the archive flag, not nullable. And I can't insert a record that has already been deleted. So I'm going to give it a default of no, of false. And now I'm going to move on to my system columns. Like display, the display flag. Does this record have display data? And a new record cannot, because it just got there, and that structure requires a primary key and unique dataset number from the table. that wants display data. And the same thing goes for the plan flag. A new record cannot have that information yet because the underlying structure requires that the record already exists. Same with the other flag. And same with the security flag. So that's what a lot of our tables are going to look like. So I just went ahead and saved that. And I'm going to close this. And I'm actually going to open this twice. Script table as create new query window twice. Because what I want to do, actually, I'm not. I was indecisive. We're just going to take it slow so we don't make any mistakes. We're going to tokenize this script. Since I already have the database name and database type name in here, I'm actually going to replace system main with these two items. I'm going to remove go, but I can see it's highlighting my flag, so I'm going to remove go and then replace folder with flag other. Excellent. And I'm going to replace the word subject with subject name, because we're going to have to create a ton of these classes. So what we're doing is we're tokenizing this. Oh, I'll start from here so it's not so dizzying. And format it. We're tokenizing this because we're going to... that got deleted. Because we're going to stick this in a procedure because we want to streamline how we create tables. We want all of our tables to be the same. We don't want them, we don't want one mistake to exist in one. And yep, that's all of our defaults. They look good. Now I'm just going to save this in my vault as create table. And it's the class table, but it's no realm. There's no realm above this class. And we're going to create some of those today too. I'm going to save it. Now we are going to create the next table in the shape, class family type base shape. So we're going to create the family table off of the class table. Pretty easy. We're just going to do a couple things. First thing is to replace class with family. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to replace the cluster group because the class didn't have a parent taxonomy. We are going to replace cluster group with the taxonomy ID of its parent taxonomy, which is subject class. And we're going to replace the data type with the taxonomy ID data type. Make sure that our default looks good. There it is. Class ID. Yep. No, everything looks good. So We'll close this, and we're gonna create our second table, the family, and repeat that tokenization process. So I'm gonna replace go, and then make sure I got my flag. Put my flag back the way it should be. It's easier to do it this way. I'm gonna replace subject. Subject name, and finally system main. With database name and database type name. Excellent. And then I'm going to save this because we're going to come back. Actually, I'm not going to missed a step. No problems. How can we do it? We can do it like this. I'm going to design the family, and I'm going to link up the wrong one. I'm going to foreign key the class to this table. The primary key to class ID, foreign key. Awesome. I'm going to save it, and then I'm going to script this as create and just grab that foreign key. And I'm going to replace my subject. Remove the go and just copy this, close that, copy this to the bottom of my script, and get this formatted. Come on. Excellent. So now I'm going to save this as the family. And I'm going to remove this no realm, that only applies to the class table, and I'm going to save it. Now it's going to get a little bit easier, so I'm going to script this as create, close my other one, and tokenize it again. Replace go, replace our flag other, and we're going to replace family with type, and then class with family, because this is the third one in the hierarchy from top to bottom, and it should have created our foreign key for us too. So now we should be able to run this. Excellent. Now we have created our type table. And then we're just gonna finish tokenizing it. Excellent. And we'll save this to be our type. Refresh, and one more. Oh, I meant to create. Close this. Replace go. Replace flag other. And this time we will replace type with nothing and family with type. And we can go ahead and run that. Excellent. Now we will replace subject. Trying to replace the token. Subject with the token. And system main with database name. And database type name. We'll save that as our base table. Not format. So let's take our time with this. Just do the work now so we're not having to come back, so we don't have to come back. Do that work. Save it. Alright, so this is our first shape, the class family type base shape. And I'm going to go ahead and add data to this because we do have to create our other shapes, but this will make more sense why these shapes exist and what they do if we can add data to them. So I'm just gonna edit top 2000. I don't have a tenant ID yet, so I'm actually gonna give it a 0. Oh, I pressed down. That will default to 0. My cluster group will be 10. And I'm gonna give this class the name of common shapes. So these are common shapes. And I'm going to give it a key name of common. And that should be good. So now we have an ID of 2 because I hit that down arrow, but that's okay. Now, I have a common class. I'm going to go ahead and edit the subject family because we don't have a group table yet. I'm going to just give those zeros, but we do have a class. So this will be under the common class. And the first family is reference family, reference subject family. Reference data subject. I'm going to reference. I'm actually going to give it a abbreviation of ref to help with disambiguating the names. And I believe that's good. Excellent. Excellent. And right off the bat, or right now, we're going to add some more common shapes, or some more families. So we want the relationship family. Relationship. I want the message family. And I'm actually going to system messages, relationship, then we're going to use the, let's see, date family. The geography, and this is just to get things ready. Instead of trying to circle back, I mean, we have to do that anyways, but we're here. Just two more. And the last one, the group. Excellent. So now, you'll see why I took the time to do that. We're going to add the subject types. So these are our actual, let me see, 1 through 7. So these are our actual shapes. And the first one that we had created, I'm going to put under the reference family, was the class family type base shape. This shape comprises of a class, family, type, and untyped table. Its abbreviation is CFT-B. And I'm going to use the abbreviation in the key name also. I'm going to refresh it. Another shape that we are going to have is the relationship shape, which is the RCFT-R. Copy this. And this shape comprises of a realm, class, family, type, and relationship table. I'll kind of move this over, expand this out a little bit so you can read it. Collapse this down. There we go. Another shape that we are going to have that's not going to be, actually, I messed that up, second family. That's the relationship family, relationship rel. So that's the family that this shape is going to belong to. then we have the dates, message, people. So the message, okay. I'm going to copy the first record to start showing you how this system runs. Now we have the same shape, the class family type base shape, under the message. So we're just going to have two of these now. But they actually mean different things. So it'll kind of separate our subjects. Now, the third subject that we have, I'm just going to copy a row because it's easier, will be under our people and group subject family, so 6 and 7. This is a domain shape. The domain shape comprises of a class, family, type, untyped table with relationship tables to every shared attribute. We'll do domain for the abbreviation and domain just to keep it consistent. I'm going to add this to the group also just because we're here. And then lastly, the last shape is the shared attribute shape, which is under the reference. And this shape contains or comprises a realm, class, family, type tables. And type table. We'll do our CFT-X. So essentially these are our four shapes, and I kind of added duplicates in here just to show you kind of how this system's going to start working, because I don't want this to be a new concept when we actually start utilizing this kind of duplication. But what I did is I can now call, due to the foreign key relationships, I can call common, reference, CFT-B because of my key names. Now we'll get a specific ID. So now we're going to actually add subjects. Just a couple of them. So we'll have subject type ID of 1 because this is going to be the reference class family type base. And it's going to represent the table we just built. The subject table holds subjects for the entire system. So that's going to be, this record essentially represents this shape of tables. So, to kind of give a demonstration on the initial step of creating or streamlining the table creation process, normalizing the table creation process, is I'm going to add some more rows in here because we're going to need a system table. System subject classifies system within our data management system. We'll need a system subject. And under a system subject, we will have a database subject. Under the database subject, we have a data set. Kind of forgot what I wrote. Data point subject. Capitalization done. A process is a subject that will be responsible for procedures, functions, and jobs, and external executables. And then we're going to have a subject to model the ins and outs of those. So we have a nice little set of subjects that we are ready to create. I'm going to go ahead and say this will be it for this video, because we did create 4 tables in our first shape, and I do want to start creating the code that will create these other tables based on this subject table. So the database shape and the dataset shape we know is a class family type shape due to the subject type ID. And we know this is how a class family type shape looks. Class family type or base. And we did tokenize and save our code already. So the next video, I'm going to use that code. I'm going to put it in a stored procedure, one for each of them. And then we're going to send it this table. And it's going to check to see if it's a class family type base. And it will start creating our tables. Now I'll have to go in and manually add parent IDs for now, because we don't, and that's a good point. It's because we don't have our definitions subject. This subject classifies definitions throughout the system. So we don't have our definition subject up yet, and the definition subject is going to be responsible for telling us where defaults should go. So the definition of a default constraint will have a relationship to a data point type and a definition. Hey, this definition is a clustered index. These are the columns that belong in a clustered index in this system. And the definition will also say, hey, these two subjects are related. And because of that definition, that'll allow us to say, oh, if these two subjects are related, let's go ahead and add a foreign key constraint if they exist in the same database. Because we're going to have to add a database ID to the subject table so we know where our subjects are, and that's why I only chose to enter in subjects related to the system for right now. That'll help us keep control while we don't have any yet. But that is what we're going to do in the next episode, or part B, essentially, because from now on, it's really just the sequence of the videos in which they were created. I think the separation is going to start getting muddied because everything's going to start relating to each other, and that is one of the purposes of master data management. And through this holistic normalization, we're essentially just going to create a lot of code that will build our entire system through this table. And that's going to be pretty fun, I think. If you've never seen that done before, I mean, you're about to. So, and that's just today's episode. All we did was get ready to do that. And I want to thank you for stopping by, and leave a comment below if you have any questions. And I'll get started on part 2, where we put all this together. So thanks again, and goodbye.